Hello again, everyone. Lauren Deeg, Associate Professor of Urban Planning at Ball State University. These exercises are called Objectified and Gridded Minutia. These exercises examine some of the techniques associated with product design sketching and industrial design sketching, but give us some great practice opportunities in reviewing contour line drawing, tonal drawing, as well as line weights and line hierarchy. Let's get to it. Conversation in CAP161, Module 1.2, Exercises 2 and 3, Objectification and Gridded Minutia. These are going to continue to focus on the drawing of objects and the quality of line, what we might call hierarchy of line or quality of line, line weight, and the beginning of tone and texture. So to accompany our readings of tone and texture in Frank Ching's design drawing, you'll find the recommended or required readings on your project statement for this module. Some accompanied readings, some great conversations and examples about tone and texture and line quality. These exercises come from a couple of different faculty members who've taught here. I want to give a shout out to Travis Rice, who is a CAP alumnus and who taught this module in previous years. He's now teaching in the Phoenix area, so shout out to our friend Travis for bringing this together and putting together this project statement. Examples I'll be showing you are from industrial design and product design sketching, and as well as one of my examples. But we always want to point back to our required reading and design drawing for the central examples of our text. This is going to challenge you to look at some of the objects that are around you. You can see a collection of objects here that I put together. My business card holder. Here's a portable camera tripod that I can actually connect my camera to and clamp onto a surface. There might be a clip, alligator clip. There might be a clicker or pointer. This is my PowerPoint clicker here. Combination locks are always good. Anything that has some interesting curvatures or shiny metal or things of that nature that can start to give you some great contours will be really, really helpful for objects that you're going to be looking at. I'll be carrying through a couple of examples, just drawing my eyeglasses, which have some wonderful contours as well as some cast shadows and things like that. So it's building on some of our previous knowledge in contour drawing, but it's starting to add tone and texture to some of our thinking. The world of product design sketching or industrial design sketching is really fascinating. There's some wonderful examples out there across the industries. This is a great little book called Product Sketches by Andres Parada. You can preview this book. There are about a few pages, preview those for free on Issuu. If you go to issuu.com and look for this book, you can see a 20 or 30 page preview from which many of these examples come from. Andres is a product designer, and you can see just a few of his sketches here. These many iterative or trial and error sketches for earbuds here. You can see this is a product that probably a lot of you are quite familiar with in terms of our current entertainment offerings. But you can see some great conversations here about some brief tone here to start to show the curvature of the bud. Maybe a slight reflection there, just showing maybe how light reflects over that portion of the bud. And then the different components as we go from the driver and the electrical supply and down into the cord. Previous iterations of earbuds, as you know, probably all had cords, and now, of course, y'all are quite familiar with the Bluetooth variety. But look at the character of the lines here. There's some what we call construction lines or guidelines that are done in light pencil. It's quite possible that he did this probably in Procreate for the iPad, but using some of the pencil tools that are there. And you can see also, it's almost as if he's seeing through the object here. You can see the earbud continuing behind the driver. Some brief tone, just showing the curvature of the bud itself or where the driver meets the wire, showing character. But you can see these, what we call these guidelines or construction lines that help start to build the sketch before he continues with it, and referencing curvature and circles and things like that. We consider this to be absolutely consistent with some of our previous exercises in terms of how you build a drawing from major lines to proportions, what I call the skeletal method of starting to build a drawing from skeletal lines and then working our way up into contours and tone. I think this is all very consistent with the way that we approach things, because that little bit of tone right there just shows the viewer that that is a curved surface, and that objects do cast shadows onto each other. So really, I just really hope you enjoy the character of some of these drawings and appreciate the amount of work that goes into design, and how many iterations a designer might go through before they reach a solution. A lot of this represents thinking, a process of thinking, going through options, going through alternatives until one reaches a final design. And I want to point out too the notion of line weight or hierarchy of line. Emphasis is given to the sort of the outer boundary of the object, and then any potential edges, change in materials, or edges that might face the viewer. And also openings. You can see that thick line weight is given to sort of the outline or outer boundary of the object, but also where things change or things might have openings. Minor line weight is given to other minor edges or even additional contours that occur. Let's look at some more examples from his work. Now this looks like a CD reader, or CD-ROM, or portable CD-ROM, or standing tower for peripheral for a computer. Hierarchy of line or line weight, again, the outer boundary, and then an opening, and then minor line weights for things that this might be a divoted surface. You can see that how it sort of divots in from the outer boundary, so it has the ability to sort of stand on a tabletop or connect to a television system. This kind of looks like a PlayStation or an Xbox, actually. And you can see minor line weights just telling the viewer that they're looking at a flat surface, plastic surface, molded plastic surface. This is from an era you might be familiar with, just in terms of how games were sold on discs, DVD discs or CD discs. This object here, I'm not sure what that is. That might be that looks a little bit of angry right there. That might be a mouse, or it might be a fuzzbuster or something like that. But you can see almost an animal-like approach to this. In terms of line weight is given again to the outline and to any openings. So the product designer approaches line weight by change in materials, the overall outline. Minor lines show curvature or surface to the viewer, and lines also are emphasized where product materials change or if there are any openings. Some of his rendered examples, these might be pencil sketches scanned in. They might be pencil style sketches on Procreate for the iPad. And then probably rendered in Procreate for the iPad. You can see almost this Photoshop effect of brushes showing the colored lights for this particular computer peripheral. You can see a USB cord connection right there. Minor lines referencing sort of the flatness or plasticine nature of the material. Some minor line weight in terms of material change, but you can see the hierarchy of line is referring to the outer edge of the product, and then where it starts to change, and we then can start to recognize that USB plug. Again, this looks like one of my bike lights, actually, so it might be a bike light. Probably a mobile phone, probably a mobile power source or hard drive or additional memory. Again, the thickest line weight refers to the outer boundary of the object, and then the next emphasis is where there might be a change in material or the opening. As far as tone and texture are concerned here, soft tone is built up in Procreate with a brush outside of this. So it starts as almost a pencil sketch in Procreate, and then it's rendered with brushes. We can certainly do that with traditional material as well. Product designers often use diagramming language to show how the product is used. So you'll start to see diagramming language already starting to come in. There's line weight that's attributed to that as well. You can see a thinner line here and a thicker line here. And then in the rendering in Procreate, product designers often like to show reflection. Just to show that their objects are shiny and do reflect light, and start to try to get a look and feel of how things might look to the consumer. Parada also deals in furniture and lighting. These are all light fixtures. and we can see, again, an attention to line weight in terms of construction lines, major geometries, center lines, spinal lines, or the center lines of how these lights might hang from a ceiling. Line weight also favors sort of the outline of the light, but also starts to show depth from one surface or component to the other. A little bit of tone there just to show how one layer of this particular lamp might overlap the other. A little bit of tone here and a little bit of a reflection piece here, and you can see it also here. A little bit of tone, a little bit of a reflection there, just to tell the viewer this is a curved surface. And you can see what that does. It really tells our brain and our mind, oh my, that is not a flat surface. And those additional lines and that little bit of tone just give just enough to give the impression that this is in fact a curved surface or bulbous surface. Into furniture, this looks like an interesting chair project. And again, minor lines in the middle, outer lines for each component of the chair are given a line weight. So that relationship between the hierarchy of line is really important. This edge here might be a beveled edge, so that's given a minor line. But you can see the hierarchy here, so we can recognize this one chair leg as one component, this chair leg is another component, the seat as a third component, then these connection pieces, and then the back. If these lines were not shown the same way, we might read the chair a little bit differently. But this is how a product designer approaches line weight in terms of the ability to read one component from the other. Product designer is trying to communicate with their makers and their craftspersons how many materials they actually, or components they have to fabricate, and even go into how they might start to be built. And you can see his favorite example here is the one that they chose to render in color. Again, this is probably rendered in Procreate or one of the other apps for the iPad. Another interesting table, we can see just a little bit of tone underneath there, favoring heavy lines to show the components, and then little tiny bits of reflection, starting to get into wood grain and representing different materials here. We can see this portion of the table, an inset there. Line weight is favoring the outer, and it's also favoring an opening. And a little bit of drop shadow right there from this upper part and there. Just a little bit of tone that starts to give our viewer some sense of depth. I really like this one. This is probably a stackable storage or wall hanging curio cabinet kind of thing. But we've got line weight all the way around this hexagon, and then we've got line weight in the opening. And then minor line weight, medium and thin line weight inside and the edges that are actually facing us. So that's how a product designer engages line weight and starts to convey depth and character of the object. So more of his furniture work, you can see line weight helps emphasize this component from this. And drop shadow and tone start to emphasize depth and cast shadow from one surface onto another. And some interesting transparency possibilities as you get into some of the digital sketching platforms, either for the iPad or for the Wacom tablet or any other components that you might see out there. A lot of product designers really are enjoying some of the newer software that's out there to allow them to sketch digitally and share that. More examples from Andres getting into fashion. This is really interesting for us because we as environmental designers do like to draw scale figures to occupy our drawings, our design drawings in the future. But I just really want to emphasize too the similarities here in terms of how the outer line weight and then that little bit of tone shows the character, shade and shadow and layering of these different components of the dress, or the character of the cargo pants as they go through all these different folds and overlaps and seams and things like that. It's just these extra little sketchy lines that give our viewer that impression of the material itself. Makes it look less flat and less plastic, much more like a fabric feel to it, look